Okay, welcome to part 6 of the Rivers of Eden. I want to apologize in advance for me repeating myself, as I'm likely to do in this video. And the reason for that is I'm filled with wonder. I'm filled with a sense of amazement that these 4 Adams showed up for me in Genesis chapters 1 and 2 after I saw their countertypes in 4 historical figures. And what's interesting is when I have a speculation, I'll tell it to my wife, and she'll go, "Well, that's cool, but you need a second witness." And so, to begin with the types of Adam, to begin this journey into an understanding of the 4 rivers of Eden, with the types of Adam in history, and to begin to develop this idea of the 4 rivers of Eden and their correlation to the rivers of life that Yeshua expressed in John chapter 7, verse 34, 35, something. Let's find that real quick so you guys can fact check. John chapter 7, verse 37. John 7:37 says this: "On the last day, that great day of the feast, Yeshua stood and cried out, saying, 'If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers,'" plural, "of living water." My mind snapped into Hebraic mode. I went back to first mention of rivers and found them here in Genesis 2, verse 10 through 14. And so, to me, a link was made between John 7 and Genesis 2 that needed exploration, and I began to consider the rivers of life and what that might mean. And what had happened is I found 4 characters in history that would fit the role of these 4 rivers of life. And I started developing this theory. And then later, within the last few days, I saw 4 distinct Adams in Genesis chapters 1 and 2. It's like a veil was lifted and I saw something that I had never seen before or even heard anybody talk about. And what happened when this occurred is this has been spinning in my mind. And for me, when this happens, it's the second witness that my wife was referring to, that you can't just go on one place in scripture and develop some theory and go on. You need a second witness. And so when these 4 Adams showed up in Genesis 1 and 2 very distinctly for me. Now, this is all going on inside here. It's very subjective. You guys will have to determine for yourself whether there are resonances here or not. But for me, this resonated powerfully, that we're actually looking at a pattern that the scripture intends for us to see. That Genesis, the 2 creation narratives that give us understanding of our Creator, our transcendent, beyond language Creator, has actually allowed himself to become known to his creation through the lens of Elohim and Yod-He Vav-He Elohim. I might put that up on my board. That these 2 understandings are in tension with each other and represent different energies, wavelengths, if you want to call, of the Almighty. And he had to do this to reduce, it's like putting a transformer onto the direct energy output of a megawatt power station. You can't just plug your device into the direct output of a 1,000,000 megawatt, nuclear power station. You have to reduce that again and again and again, and to get it down to little teaspoons of energy that our devices can use. I kind of feel, this is my own personal speculation, I kind of feel like this is what's going on in Genesis 1 and 2. The direct energy output of God's essence would blow us to bits. He had to reduce himself to these two polar, almost opposites: the energy of the doing Elohim, the judging, powerful Elohim, and the energy of the being Elohim, the connecting Elohim. And so when these four Adams showed up, I realized that the first Adam, the Genesis 1 creation narrative, is revealing something to us about man made in image and likeness of Elohim. This is productivity Adam. This is planning Adam. This is doing, energetic Adam. This is the Adam that judges his own work, the work of his own hands, to find out if it has hit the mark. This is when we're in that mode of Adam, when we're planning, executing, and evaluating our own creative work. We're in the mode, we're reflecting image and likeness of that aspect of our Creator. So when the Creator brings forward in his introduction to us another essence of himself, another quality, another wavelength of himself, and he calls that part of himself Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim, we're intended to sit up and take notice, because this is a different wavelength of understanding. So the Adam described in Genesis 2 is going to have different qualities than the Adam described in Genesis 1. This aspect of Adam is the being Adam, and we noted that in terms of what God created for Adam in Genesis 1 versus what God created for Adam, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim created for Adam in Genesis 2. God creates for Adam in world 1 this powerful, magnificent world in which to produce and plan and execute and take dominion. This mighty world with its laws that are embedded within nature so that we can, plan, etc. The energy of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim is entirely different in what we can see this in what God created for us. In Genesis chapter 2, what he created for man was a garden, a place to hang out, a place to laugh, a place to enjoy, a place to share meals, a place to talk things over, to build a family, to just be. And so the Adam described in Genesis chapter 2 is going to have different qualities than the Adam described for us in Genesis 1. This Adam, if you take a look at the titles that I've given to him, are different. Like Adam 1, the Genesis 1 Adam, I describe as doing Adam. That all has to do with fruitfulness, productivity, outcome, executing the plan and so forth, evaluating the plan. Genesis chapter 2 Adam is entirely different. We find barren Adam, Genesis 2, 7, and 8. We find the 4 rivers that separate barren Adam from the next Adam that we encounter. I call this Adam lonely Adam. And then the final iteration of Adam in Genesis chapter 2, I'm calling bridegroom Adam. And if you take a look at each one of these words or titles for the Adam that we encounter in Genesis chapter 2, you'll find that they have to do with relationship. You'll find that they have to do with being. Okay, let's take a closer look. Genesis chapter 2, verses 7 and 8, we find that the first thing that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim does is he creates a man. He exhales into his nostrils the breath of life, and then places man, he built man, he created man of substance that was separate from the substance of the garden. Builds him out here, breathes life into him, brings him into the garden. But that Adam has zero capacity to bring forth image and likeness, to reproduce. So I've called him barren Adam. Then we encounter, from the perspective of the narrative of Genesis, we've got Genesis 1 Adam, then we've got Adam 2 is the barren Adam. Adam 2, the barren Adam, is the first Adam mentioned in the Genesis 2 narrative. And then from there we encounter the four rivers, and then we encounter Adam all over again. And it's as if the first Adam didn't even happen, because we find again in Genesis chapter 2, we find God creating Adam and taking him and placing him in the garden. Well, he already did that once. So we find a retelling of the story with Adam number 3. And this is the Adam that is recognizing his barrenness. And he's lonely. And for the first time, we encounter a new category of evaluation from the perspective of the divine. Instead of it is good, it is blessed, it is holy, now from the perspective of the eternal, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim, we find a new category of evaluation, and that is needs improvement. It's a keeper. We'll keep working on it because there's a lot of potential here, but it's not good. Lo tov, that man should be alone. So we're gonna do something about that. And what we're gonna do is we're going to bring him a mate. And instead of directly creating the mate for Adam out of his own substance, which I have to tell you, okay, this creation of the woman out of the same substance of which Adam was created, this to me is the wonder of humanity. That we have two orders of created realms. We have the ethereal realm, the realm from our perspective that's over there. That's heaven, that's angels, that's the spirit. Okay, we have that ethereal realm or celestial realm, if you want to call it that. And we have the terrestrial, anyhow, the earth realm, the material realm versus the ethereal celestial realm. We have nothing in the scripture about any of the angelic beings sensing their aloneness. There's no Son of God in the celestial realm that was lonely for a partner, for a mate. There's no storyline in the scriptures that take one of these celestial beings, one of these angelic sons of God, and put that person to sleep, extract something from that angelic being to create a partner for that angelic being so that that angelic being is not lonely. This storyline that we find in Genesis chapter 2 is absolutely unique. This is, in my opinion, for what it's worth, okay, whatever. Okay, stir it up. I don't care. Go crazy. I believe that the angelic realm was masculine. That the creation of Eve from Adam was a stunning revelation of a nature of God that they had never seen before. They could not even get their brains around it. It's like, what is this? Who is this? I believe Eve was the first female to bear image and likeness and to have the essence, the quality of the Spirit of God within a female. And this was a wonder to the masculine angelic realm. They were looking at the female in wonder and awe. What is she? Why is she? Why did God create her the way he did? What is unique about her? And I believe that Eve became the focus of attention in the angelic realm of wonder and amazement. We sit on this side of the realm. We sit in the material realm with our, with our entropy and our we see our society falling apart. We see, hoarders and gluttony and crazy all over the place. And we're looking and longing, oh, Holy One, we're longing for the celestial realm. We're longing for our mortal bodies to put on immortality. And that is that's a real thing. But I suspect that from the perspective of our brothers in the angelic realm, we find in the scripture, it's, I forget the address, but it's in, I believe it's Peter, one of the Peter letters, where there's a salvation that they long to look into, that they're longing to look into the revelation that humanity carries for them. Okay, well, that was unplanned for. I think I'm probably at about 15 minutes right now. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to cut it off here, and I'm going to come back and continue to develop these two storylines. All right, I'll see you in a bit.